Perks, stats, derived stats, skills. There's so many things to level up in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and so little time to do it feels. In this video today, I want to help crack the mystery behind how these systems play together so you can understand how to level them up properly or what they actually do. Like understanding that charisma is an average value of all of your equipped gear and what have you. Before we get started, please know that this is not a min-max guide. I'm simply going to give you the information so that you can better understand how to pull the most out of the world of KCD2. This is a single player narrative game. There's no wrong way to play. You spent your money on a game, so play it exactly how you want, not how the internet tells you to. I promise you'll enjoy the journey a lot more if it's on your own terms. But if this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos. So let me give you the down and dirty of what we're about to get into. Let me start off by saying that you can get every single perk in the game except the ones that are mutually exclusive, of which there's only a handful of those anyway. So please go wild and take all the perks you want as they fit your character. The way you play the game is going to change as you go through it, so apply those changes to the future perk decisions. Also, know that strength and agility are your most important stats because this is what allows you to use all the weapons in the game. Strength can be leveled quickly by walking around over encumbered, and agility levels fastest by stealing things. All of the skills and stats play into one another, so using one will oftentimes give varying amounts of experience to the others. Lastly, don't silo your character. Try everything. Don't think you have to do a specific playthrough of a stealth archer or knight unless you want to roleplay like that. I'm doing everything because the game systems make it easy to level across the board versus just one stat over the other. And in this video too, I'll just be showing everything from the menu screen, so it won't be any spoilers. That's the too long didn't watch this entire video. So if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down and get back to enjoying your journey in medieval Bohemia. You can navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline in the description. And if you've not yet picked up Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you can buy the game using my Fanatical link in the description and pinned comment. It's 10% off through them. You'll get a Steam key, and I earn an 8% commission, so it's an awesome way to support the channel. Lastly, don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I'll be doing giveaways of the game linked below. Let's get started here on my ultimate guide to perks, stats, derived skills, everything like that in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Loading into the game, let's talk about our stats first. Now we have strength, agility, vitality, and speech. Those are our four primary stats. We have secondary stats we'll go into in this next section. All of these stats play into a lot of different ways that we play this game. And in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, a lot of this was more of a siloed system. One would contribute to another. Strength contributes to melee combat. Well, strength also contributes to being a ranged combatant. Agility contributes to doing melee stuff. All of these things now play into each other, and there's tons of ways to gain experience in them. So this is, of course, not a guide on like how to max out your strength and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to give you some little bit of tidbits of advice there. But moreover, it's to understand that strength isn't solely locked to using a weapon. It also increases your carrying capacity, allows you to fully draw powerful bows, and makes it easier to move and fight in heavy armor. If you're walking around with heavy armor on, you get strength experience, you get vitality experience. If you want to increase your strength and vitality, and I guess you can just like a little min-maxy thing, I suppose. Right now I'm at 172 of 206. I could put myself at 208, or every bit of overburdened I am starts to accumulate even more strength and vitality experience for me. So you can take advantage of that if you want, load yourself up with tons of stuff and walk around, and you can get tons of experience in those things. So strength is part of that system. And it's important to understand that because strength isn't so just one-sided, right? Not siloed. And it's the same thing here with agility. But agility's primary way to raise its capabilities outside of using a ranged weapon is stealthing and stealing. And let me tell you right now, like, I didn't approach this game wanting to play like that. I really didn't. I was like, nah, I don't really want to do the skullduggery steely thing. It's definitely a part of this series in which I had no previous understanding of that. And I was spending the majority of my time not stealing and not stealthing because I thought to myself, I'll do that on a stealing and stealthing character. There is nothing stopping you from doing that on your character, so do it. And I recommend that you really do it because it gives you tons of experience. You need both strength and agility to use everything. So here's an example here. Let's take a look at this two-handed weapon. I need 10 strength and 10 agility because I have certain perks that reduce the total amount. I would still need strength and agility to get those going. Here's 10 and 10 on this one. Here's 9 and 2 on this one. So if you come back to our strength and agility, what I've gone ahead and done is purchase the perks that require that the required agility for all weapons will be lower for you. And generally, you have a lower agility than the weapon requires, you will find it more difficult to fight with. And I've got the second one here that now reduces it by 5. I've got the same thing here. Oh, I guess I don't. I've got the first one here for strength for -2, but there's another one here for -5. The reason this is important is if you never train the stat, you'll never get access to these. And if you don't train the stat and you don't get access to these, you can't use the better weapons in the game. Doesn't matter if you're never going to touch range weapons, you need agility experience to use the best swords. And if you don't get at least deft hands 1 and 2, it makes it that much harder because you need to really focus more on your agility. And furthermore, as it pertains to both of these stats, both strength and agility, here's this important note. If on the other hand, you have a higher agility, the stamina difficulty will drop. With this perk, you will reach that state sooner. And with strength, you have another ability here. If you have a lower strength than the weapon requires, you will do less damage with it. On the other hand, if it's higher, you'll do slightly more. So having these, outside of obviously giving you more strength, gives you cascading amounts of damage benefits as you progress through the game. So strength and agility are not just locked to ways of playing, they're requirements for you as a player throughout everything. But what about vitality? Well, vitality has the same kind of thing. They all correspond to each other and link into one another. You gain experience primarily through combat, performing advanced techniques or combos, and of course, through regular training such as running and overcoming obstacles in your path. Running and sprinting and jumping over a fence gives you vitality experience. Same thing with agility experience, actually. But playing the game, playing an actual strong combatant, parrying and doing perfect dodge rolls or perfect parries, doing master strikes, doing any of the combos gives you vitality experience. So you see how these things really play with each other and really feed into one another in a really good and strong way. So it's important to know this because things were very solid in my first thought of the game because I was looking at it from too much of a Kingdom Come Deliverance one way, and that is just not the case. Even moreover with speech, you gain experience primarily through conversations and using skill checks in them. Also, reading books will enrich your vocabulary and improve your rhetorical skills and argumentation. So about speech here, yes, duh, what I just said. Yeah, you guys can all read text. I'm not doubting you. But what's important to know is that when people play a lot of RPGs, they skip through dialogue, and you can still skip through the dialogue, but they don't do the optional discussion methods. Like, oh, tell me what there is to do around here. How long have you been a traveler? Is it true that the Romani people do this and this? Like all the little things that you explore about the lore of the game, use them. They give you speech experience, and it then also gives you scholarship. So these systems are so interwoven together. If you go to do any kind of haggling, it gives you speech experience. You go to do any time you've got any conversational dilemma where you have to use these dialogue stats, it gives you speech experience. So the speech previously in the first game was much harder to get experience on. It's way easier this time. I guess too, if you want to do some cheesy way of playing speech, you can just do a bunch of mini haggles, like just sell one item at a time to a vendor and haggle them down or up 1 or 2 groschen, and you'll get it, and you'll get a ton of speech experience. I don't recommend playing anything like that, but you're going to discover it on your own. It's going to be on a Reddit or whatever, so I might as well talk about it. So those are your primary stats, and that's how they feed into one another in case you weren't really aware of it. But also, moreover, how those primary stats are required for all methodologies of play, not just simply I'm a stealth archer, I'm a knight in shining armor, I'm a merchant. They all need each other to operate. Which also brings me into our secondary stats. So we've got derived stats and dialogue stats. Let's talk about derived stats first. And derived stats have 4 pretty obvious ones: inconspicuousness, visibility, noise, and speed. You start off, I'm just going to press this button. If you're naked, you've got a speed of 26. Your max, as you can see down here, is 30. As you put on more armor, you'll see that this will drop as you accumulate weight on your character. So let's go ahead and take a look at this coif over here, or this helmet. Okay, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do this. There we go. This has a weight value right here, 2.6. That weight value is, of course, the weight of the item, but it's also a weight that contributes against your speed score. That will then slow you down. Wearing heavy armor increases the stamina cost of your movement and combat actions. This can be mitigated by increasing your agility and strength levels. With high enough stats, even the heaviest armors can cancel you down. You'll have perks to mitigate this, all sorts of things, but I wanted to explain speed in the continuity of the video. But conspicuousness, visibility, and noise are all really important, because this is how you're going to do a lot of sneaking in this game. And honestly, sneaking is very important. It's very important because I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to sneak and steal on this character. Like I said before, I realized how important it was because of agility experience, but also you just get so many cool, fun items, and it's a really fun kind of mini game to take advantage of, either robbing people or doing the lock picking. It's a very fun thing that, you know, I didn't really want to push it into a whole new way of playing. So I really, really enjoy the system is what I'm trying to say. Either way though, you'll want to take a look at these three because they're going to be the most important thing when it comes to sneaking through stuff. And what I'll tell you is noise is going to be pretty obvious, but visibility and noise are way more important than conspicuousness. Let's go ahead and switch over to my sneaking gear. Conspicuousness here is basically the guard's capability to recognize you from afar or whatever. The lower this value is, the less likely they are to stop and bother you. Visibility, can they even see you for conspicuousness to take effect? It's why visibility is so important. So wearing stuff like dark clothing, nothing with bright colors on it, all those things increase your visibility, but conversely as well your conspicuousness. The more of like, oh, you just seem like a random nobody, no guard's going to bother you. But if it's very high, they'll want to search you. If it's visible, they'll see you to want to do the searching and so on and so forth. So it's why visibility is, in my opinion, way more important than conspicuousness. It's also harder to get lower than conspicuousness. As you can see, it's very easy to drop this. Now, the last one here is noise, which goes hand in hand with visibility as important. Conspicuousness is like a fallback of the other two, right? If your character's making a lot of noise, people are going to turn to look to see, oh, now my conspicuousness is going to trigger. So you want to be as stealthy as possible so that you can sneak up behind people and rob them. Unless you're robbing someone who's asleep, you're going to be sneaking up behind them. So you want to have your noise as low as possible, or else they'll hear you and turn around. So noise is super, super crucial. I say both of these are far more important than conspicuousness when you are building off your little thief suit on your different outfits here. Like your little thief suit, like it's derogatory. Now, the other derived stat here is charisma. And charisma, for me, didn't make much sense out the gate because I didn't understand it. But here's the most important line of this entire thing. Your charisma is the average of the charisma values of the individual pieces of your clothing or armor that are visible. That's an important portion. That's the last sentence. That last word is the most important part of that sentence, aside from average being in there as well. So let's go take a look at my armor again. So this embroidered hood has 17 charisma at max without the beat up condition and what have you. This coif has 9, this collar has 7, this pointy hat has 13, this gambeson has 9, this hauberk has 6, so on and so forth ad infinitum. Well, the averages of all those numbers put together divided by whatever, whatever your average result is, then right here, that is your value that is being taken a look at. I was not understanding. I'm like, well, why is my charisma going up? I'm putting on something with 9, with 15, with so on and so forth. Well, it is that average. And most importantly, too, it's what's visible. So, for example, here, my gambeson is visible. You can see it right there underneath the hauberk. Even my hauberk's beat to shit. But if I were to put, let's just say, this ordinary coat on, it would conceal other things. Thus, it would have to have its own charisma score that would be important, right? I want that charisma score to be good, or else it would, not be great. Because that charisma score is not good. It's hiding things that have a high charisma score. My overall average goes down. So you have to weigh this. Like, okay, what is my thing covering everything? My coat, as it were, does it have a good charisma value? Is it worth covering the other things that are maybe more ramshackle? Maybe this is a really beat, rusty breastplate, which it is. Maybe this is a terrible, rusty hauberk, which it kind of is. So having this nice ordinary coat over it is actually kind of helping me. So that's why charisma is so important, because charisma is then going to come into how your dialogue stats work. Because charisma is important to speech, it's important to haggling, it's important to dialogue. So your dialogue stats are another very important portion of this game. And there's persuasion, there's coercion, immersion, domination, presence, and intimidation. You can kind of see each one has a negative. Presence, and persuasion. Persuasion and coercion are, you know, two sides of one coin. Same thing with impression and domination, presence and intimidation. And basically it's what route is your character taking? Are you covered in blood? Are you just caked in dirt? Is your dog barking viciously? There's a perk that I call it with Houndmaster that plays into this. Do you have a super high charisma score? All this stuff? Well, then your intimidation is probably going to be through the roof. This stat is derived from how good your armor and weapons are and how physically fit you are, and to a lesser your strength, agility, and vitality. So having all those things makes you look like some sort of robber baron or brigand, like, oh, I don't want to mess with that guy. Presence, on the other hand, is, am I a gleaming knight in shining armor? Do I look like a paladin? My character has an 18, even with a rusty breastplate. So what this means is, and the game even tells you, just because it's a higher score doesn't mean it's going to work. So let's say I'm trying to appeal to a character, and we're using dialogue stats. Looking at all these dialogue stats of persuasion, coercion, impression, domination, presence, and intimidation. Let's say we're talking to the most renowned swordsman in all of Bohemia. I am not going to be able to intimidate him no matter what, because he already knows he's a badass. This could be the highest stat in the game, which is 30. He would still go, nah, and it would fail. And I'm blowing this into a hyperbole here. It probably would succeed. I don't really know how that really works, but I know for a fact that it's based off of the character's disposition that you're trying to influence with the dialogue stat. Am I trying to talk to a thief who is pretty much trying to choose between robbing me or cutting my throat? Well, I'm not going to appeal to the better parts of his virtue through presence. I'm going to try to intimidate him because I'm a better swordsman than him. Yeah, you can try to steal from me, but you'll lose your hand in the process. That kind of way. Look at the dialogue stats as they pertain to who you're talking to, not which one is higher. And whatever stat is highest for what you're talking to, use that one. I'm trying to make an impression upon one of the nomads. She's being hit on by a cumin, and I'm trying to act as a middle ground in between both of those targets. So I'm not going to use domination or coercion. I'm going to use persuasion or impression to try to sweet talk the situation into going through. All these dialogue stats are situational and they are contextual. So make sure you're applying them as they kind of appear to you in the situations that you're going to be dealing with. The next two sections, I'm not going to lie to you, are very self-explanatory, but just for the sake of continuity, let's go over them very quickly. Here's your skills. And in this are all the ways that you're going to interact with a lot of the many things that you can do within the game. You'll have skill checks whenever you actually use those things, like going and doing any kind of alchemy, crafting at the blacksmith, drinking, horsemanship. All that makes sense, right? But you'll also use them conversationally or contextually as you go through quests. Hey, you know what? Someone's wounded on the side of the road and they want you to go back to town and get them a potion. Well, my survival's through the roof, buddy. I can make you a healing tonic by rubbing some dirt on you, like what Samwise Gamgee. Don't you worry. So you leverage these in not just a game system way of trying to use the craftsmanship system. You use them contextually throughout the game within the events that occur. Now, there's the bottom of every single one of these. You'll have a paragraph here that'll tell you, you will gain experience by, you will gain experience by. So I'm not really going to go through it. I'll tell you just on a high level, craft potions, craft weapons, drink at bars. Anytime you use your horse, period. This is important. You gain experience by riding whenever you travel a considerable distance in the saddle. Be careful though, you won't gain experience by using fast travel. And it seems to be that the further distance you go without dismounting, the more experience you get, like as a larger chunk or some sort of kind of hidden modifier. For example, if I were to I'm going to use ridiculous hyperbole here. If I were to travel from Bohemia to Italy without getting off my horse, you can't do that in this game. You get more experience through some sort of hidden modifier than if you were to get off your horse in the middle of the trip from Bohemia to Italy, if that makes sense. So it seems that staying in the horse quite literally gives you some sort of hidden modifier of experience compounded throughout the length of your journey. But fast traveling does not give you any. Houndmaster is anytime you do anything with your hound, of course. Scholarship is important because this one says, you will increase your scholarship mainly by reading books, applying scholarship in conversations, and learning new and interesting knowledge about the new world around you. That last sentence is kind of vague. So why scholarship not why it's important, but scholarship, it's important to know. There we go. You get experience with this by just simply talking to people and exploring more about them, especially people that are not who you are. You're Bohemian. You are a character who's not cumin. You're not of the Romani people, the nomads. Talk to anyone that is of any cultural difference to your character and explore all the conversation options, and it will help with both speech and scholarship. And reading books, of course, is always going to help out with that. But it just, that was something I didn't know gave me a scholarship experience, so I spent a lot more time with it. Stealth, as you would imagine, picking locks, picking people's pockets, disposing of enemies. You can kind of do some you can do some cheesing around here. You can carry bodies around. You can carry them around like a bandit camp, and you can cheese this, but please don't do that. Survival, additionally discovering, survival is pretty interesting because it's like damn near everything gives you experience for survival. Gathering herbs is going to be your fastest means of getting early survival things. Standout stuff, of course, would be flower power and leg day, which people that came from the first game will know, but flower power gives you a significant increase to your charisma, and leg day gives you strength experience whenever you collect herbs. So both of those are very significantly, or really strong skills and perks that I would definitely jump into. And then thievery here, of course, is geared towards stealth and thievery kind of sit on the same scale. It's very easy though to get thievery experience over stealth experience, because sometimes you can just simply be in a location and not have to stealth into it. So try to stay stealthed when you are trying to get experience for both, so that you hopefully get them on somewhat of a same trajectory and not one blowing out over the other. A standout or two perk I will mention though in craftsmanship is locksmith. When picking locks, your thief skill will be count as 3 higher, so it'll be easier. Plus, you can make use of scrap iron, so you'll get 1 to 3 lock picks for each time you successfully forge an item. So it's a great way to just give you additional lock picks, which are not very easy to come by in the early portions of the game. They're pretty expensive, and it's just you don't have a lot of them at your disposal. So I definitely recommend that. Thievery 2 has a whole bunch of really good ones here, like Toolmaster. Your lock picks will become more durable, and if you still manage to break a lockpick, once you successfully overcome a lock, the lockpick will be returned to your inventory. So that's a really good one as well. We talked about that good one here with survival, with leg day and flower power. There's a lot of these that are going to overlap outside of where they are. And another thing too is for stealth, you can see here, I've got a point. I don't want any of these. So don't be afraid to hold on to a perk point until you can level up that thing. It's every 2 levels, so you'll get another set of perks to choose from. So I want stuff in here. So I'm going to save up these points and spend them in the 10 bracket versus the 8 bracket. So don't be afraid to bank points. Like scholarship is another example. I don't want this one. It's not cool for me. I want to take advantage of these 2 instead. So bank them, use them as you see fit. Our last section here is about combat skills. And this is just, again, very self-explanatory. Simply use the weapon and it will give you a corresponding skill. And it's worth noting, just like with skills, there are sometimes perks that will help you cross skill. Your craftsmanship level will count as 3 levels higher during blacksmithing, and all sword-like weapons will get 25% less damage in combat. So this is a sword skill, but it helps you directly with your craftsmanship. So make sure you're looking through these and choosing certain ones that maybe kind of fit either the way you're playing the character or things that you want to pull into the character additionally to help you really get a little bit extra bang for your buck for the type of character you're trying to play, or whatever kind of leverage you're trying to do, especially stuff from, like I said, the swords right there. Now, warfare is one that is interesting because it sits outside of the other skills and it contributes to the other skills. Your warfare level will increase as you improve your skills with individual weapons or unarmed combat. So if your main level increases every time, you basically get experience here. Every time you progress through skills, combat, any of these stats, you'll get points through here. Combat has the same thing with warfare, where it's like any experience you accumulate here goes up into your warfare. So this has a longer level, but it takes longer to level up, but it then gives you stuff towards everything, right? Like feint, for example, if you move to attack from one direction, the quick change, blah, blah, blah. This applies to everything here in this section except for marksmanship, right? Or ironclad, this applies to everything, not just simply one stat. So combat in and of itself has the same kind of system where things feed into warfare, but you'll just use these as you see fit. And combos are, of course, all the combos you have unlocked with whatever conversations, whatever books you've read, whatever trainers you've encountered, and so on and so forth. But at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully this helps you have a better understanding of how your stats, your secondary stats, your derived stats, your skills, your combat skills, how they play together, and how, you know, you're increasing your sword actually increases a little bit of agility experience and increases your strength experience, or increasing your marksmanship increases a little bit of strength experience, but increases your agility experience. Stealing, big agility bonus. All sorts of ways for the systems within this game to interplay into one another to help you become the character you want to be and play the game however you want. Because I could have gone into a bunch of ways like, okay, make sure you choose these perks first, these things first, so on and so forth. But the most important thing to remember is you can get all of these perks at any point in the game. You're going to get access to all of them, except for the ones that are mutually exclusive that say, hey, you can't get this because this will exclude you from that perk. With that as your guide, use that to just fill in the perks that you need as you encounter them, versus saying, okay, I need to get all these perks or my character is going to be weak at this point in the game. No, you just pivot around and use whatever you want to use as you see fit. So if you have any other questions or you have any other recommendations for people, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. I'm always down for as much information to be disseminated out to the people as possible. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.